The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
While some people were speaking about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings, Jesus said, "All that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon another stone that will not be thrown down." Then they asked him, "Teacher, when will this happen? What sign will there be when all these things are about to happen?" He answered, "See that you are not deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and the time has come. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for such things must happen first, but it will not immediately be the end." Then he said to them, "Nations will rise against nations, and kingdoms against kingdoms. There will be powerful earthquakes, famines, and plagues from place to place. And awesome sights and mighty signs will come from the sky. Before all this happens, however, they will seize and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you the wisdom in speaking, that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives." This is the good news of our salvation.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
When St. Luke was writing for his communities, and he wrote this passage from the 21st chapter of his gospel, what he was predicting was a reality in the community. In the year 70, the Romans would punish Israel, country of Palestine, which they had dominated and possessed for a long time, because the Jews, at least a segment of them, had revolted against the emperor and against the empire, and they needed to be punished. So the Roman legions plunged into the city of Jerusalem and devastated it and burnt down the temple, the year 70, about 30 years after the resurrection. And that temple has never been rebuilt. and many of the inhabitants of Jerusalem were crucified. So much so that one of the historians say there wasn't enough wood in the environment, in the area, to make crosses for the victims. Horrible experience. This is the mystery of evil in the presence of divine love. Because during this time, Jesus had come back to this world through the Pentecost, the gift of the Holy Spirit, and the gift of his faithful disciples, and some of whom will fulfill the prophecy in today's gospel. They will be martyrs. In the Greek, the word martyr means witness. And it is most interesting that before the year 70, one of the prominent members of the Mother Church in Jerusalem will be martyred. His name is Saint Stephen, the first martyr, the first witness to give his life in imitation of Jesus. And St. Luke, when he tells us about this in the 7th chapter of the Acts of the Apostles, says that in dying, St. Stephen said, "Do not hold this act against them." And then he commended himself to the risen Jesus, imitating Jesus as he died on the cross, as he prayed to the Father, "Father, forgive them, they do not know what they are doing." But here in the Philippines, we have another fulfillment of the prophecy of Jesus. Don't worry about what you will say. I will be there to inspire you and to give you testimony to your adversaries that they cannot refute. And that happened in 1647, when a 47-year-old man who was a father of 2 sons and 1 daughter found himself with a group of Dominican missionaries in Japan. Saint Lorenzo Ruiz, the prototype of martyrs in the Philippine church. And they recorded what he said as he was being tortured to death, giving his life for his faith. He said, "I am a Christian, and I will profess this until the hour of my death. For God I shall give my life." And he has become a great model and inspiration for all Filipino Catholic Christians, honored by sainthood by Pope John Paul II. These are giving testimony without counting the cost. And we who are Christians must examine ourselves and ask ourselves in the depth of our heart, especially when we're receiving Jesus and his love for us in Holy Communion. What cost am I willing to give Jesus and his Father and Mother Mary for all that they have been given to me? We are not in a situation like the Christians in Iraq who are targets of these extremist Muslims who are killing them with bombs. Then they will have the choice either to stay in the church that dates for 2,000 years or leave, and maybe even leave the faith. That is their challenge. But our challenge is in the lesson of St. Paul in today's reading from his letter. He's telling them before his martyrdom that he was using his time, talent, and treasure to spread the faith to others. And that is our destiny right now. When we love, when we serve, when we think not about me, but what about you, we are giving witness and testimony that we love Jesus, who has brought us into the church through baptism and who comes to us in the Holy Eucharist. That is why we are here now, to share our faith and to prove that we are sincere in giving witness to Jesus. The time will come, we know, in our faith, when Jesus will come like a lightning to transform this world into a true civilization of life and love, without hatred, violence, misery, hunger, ignorance, and self-centeredness. That will come in his second coming. But right now, as we live our daily lives in our families and in our communities, we have the responsibility of paying attention to what Jesus is saying in today's gospel and what St. Paul is also telling us. Live good, devout, other-oriented lives. Love in imitation the way Jesus is loving you in this particular liturgy. Lorenzo Luis never thought that he would be a martyr, but that's what God called him to. But don't think, because you're not called to martyrdom in the way Lorenzo Luis was, that the Lord isn't giving you responsibility for helping others to love him the way you do. Let us now profess our faith. I believe in God,
Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, only Son of God, who was conceived by the power of the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into the dead. On the third day he rose again. He ascended into heaven, and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and life everlasting.